Officer Mark had always been proud of his daughter Emily, until the day he suddenly caught a glimpse of his own flesh and blood, spray painting graffiti on the side of an abandoned building. Shocked and heartbroken, he approached her, demanding an explanation. As Emily turned to face her father, she whispered a reason that sent shivers down her father's spine. But what Emily did next would result in her own father arresting her immediately. But before we start, make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Mark sighed as he handcuffed his own daughter and led her to the police car. He couldn't believe that this was actually happening, and he was still in shock as he drove her to the police station. At the police station, all of Mark's colleagues were surprised to see that he had brought in his own daughter. What did Emily tell her father about the graffiti? What was her excuse, and why did he arrest her? Officer Mark was quite happy with his life. He adored his family, which consisted of his beautiful wife Andrea and their daughter Emily, and he enjoyed his job at the police station. His family and work had always been two separate things in his life, but on this particular day, they were about to clash for the first time. In the weeks before that one day, the police had received several calls about youngsters spraying graffiti on buildings all over town. Officer Mark had almost finished his shift when he received another call from a worried citizen about the exact same issue. Only minutes later, he arrived at the address the woman had given him, and he parked his car and got out. Officer Mark was in shock. He couldn't believe that this was really happening. He had never expected his own daughter to do such a thing. "Emily, please, what is going on? Why are you doing this? You do know this is illegal, right?" He spoke to his one and only daughter. "Dad, I know. I can explain, okay?" She answered him. "Emily, this is serious. I should arrest you for this. You're lucky that it was me who caught you and not another officer, and you're grounded for an entire month. What's going on? This is not right," he said. Finally, Emily sighed and said, "All right, but can you promise me you won't go after anyone? I need to talk to Dad right now, not to Officer Mark, okay?" Mark sighed and nodded. "No, that's not enough. I need you to promise me," Emily insisted. All right, I promise." Emily finally took a few steps closer to her dad, and she told him why she was doing this, and he listened intently. "Okay, that's a lot to take in, Em, and I kind of get it, okay?" he told his daughter. She had tears in her eyes, and she let out a deep sigh when he finally hugged her, feeling relieved. "However, that doesn't mean you can just go around town spraying graffiti on buildings. That's illegal. You could get into serious trouble for this," he went on. "Yeah, Dad, thanks, I know, but I just have to finish this. Please, you have to understand, I have to," she said. Mark stared at his daughter and his mouth fell open. Was she being serious right now? He thought he had been clear, but sure enough, she turned around to face the wall, shook the spray can, and held it up, ready to finish what she started. With a trembling hand, Officer Mark reached out, snapping the cold handcuffs around Emily's thin wrists. With a careful touch, Mark opened the patrol car's rear door, guiding Emily to take a seat. The surrounding noises of the city felt distant as he awaited her response, hoping to bridge the widening gap between them. Under the dimly lit entrance of the police station, Mark's footsteps echoed as he led Emily through the cold, silent hallways. As Mark transferred Emily into Daniel's care, their exchanged glances spoke of the unique and challenging situation at hand. Pulling Daniel slightly to the side, Mark whispered, "Make her understand the severity of this. I need you to be stern." Interrogating a friend's child was not an assignment he ever envisioned, and the internal conflict was evident on his face. In the adjacent room, Mark settled uneasily behind the one-way mirror. Daniel leaned forward, hands clasped, piercing the distance between them. "Emily, we need the truth, not just for the record, but for your future." His voice was both an inquiry and a dare. As Emily began her account, there was a familiar cadence in her words. She spoke of the pressures she felt, the need for expression, and the allure of rebellion that drew her to graffiti. Daniel's initial stern facade slowly dissolved as he listened. As Emily's story unfolded, he began to see the young woman not as a mere lawbreaker, but as a soul caught in the throes of youthful conflict and identity struggles. Tears glistened in Emily's eyes as she expressed remorse. "I know it was wrong, and I understand the consequences," she admitted, her gaze seeking Daniel's, pleading for understanding. "But the law doesn't run on emotions. Actions have consequences. He reminded her that understanding her motives doesn't negate the law she broke, emphasizing the need for responsibility and accountability. As minutes ticked by, Emily's defenses crumbled. Each tear that fell was a testament to the pain of recognizing one's mistakes. Thoughts raced in Emily's mind, swirling like a tempest. What would become of her future? Would this one act define her forever? Fears of jeopardized college applications, tarnished reputation, and broken trust loomed large. The uncertainty of the aftermath weighed heavily, making every passing second feel like an eternity. Unable to bear the sight any longer, Mark took a deep breath and slowly pushed open the door. The creaking hinge mirrored the heaviness in his heart. With each step towards his daughter, he was torn between his roles. Pulling back, Mark gently cupped Emily's face, wiping away her tears. "I understand why you did it," he whispered, ensuring she felt his genuine empathy. "But, Em," he continued, his voice filled with concern, "there are always lawful ways to express our feelings and fight for what we believe in." Mark began to suggest various paths she could take to channel her passion. Community service, peaceful protests, or even creating art in designated areas can make a difference, he advised. By advocating for her cause legally, Emily could inspire change without facing the harsh consequences of breaking the law. Between measured breaths, Emily began to unravel the deeper story. "Dad, I've been involved with Green Guardians, a climate activist group," she began, her voice laced with passion. Her involvement was not just about teenage rebellion. It was a cry for the planet, a desperate plea for awareness and change. Drawing from her pocket a crumpled piece of paper, she unfolded it to reveal an advertisement. A large company boasted about its eco-friendly initiatives, yet had been proven false. The graffiti, "You lied," was her and her group's outcry against the deception, their canvas a symbol of the public space the company had polluted with their lies. With a sense of frustration, Emily continued, "We tried reaching out, sending emails, attending their public events to ask questions. Feeling trapped in a cycle of neglect, Emily believed that a louder, bolder move was required. I thought if people saw the message, if they knew the truth, maybe something would change," she explained. In her eyes, graffiti was a means of reclaiming power, giving a voice to those silenced by authoritative bodies. As he listened, Mark began to grasp the depth of Emily's convictions. He sighed, reflecting on the drastic shifts in the world since his youth. "Fighting for a cause, especially in today's age, is tough," he conceded. While not condoning her illegal actions, he now better understood the battles his daughter was bravely facing. Holding hands across the cold metal table, the two made a solemn pledge. They committed not just to fighting for the environment, but to supporting each other, learning from one another, and promoting change responsibly. In that quiet room, amidst a tangle of emotions, a formidable team emerged, driven by love and a shared purpose.